Rain tapped lightly against the bulletproof windows of the Juvenile Correctional Facility outside Atlanta, Georgia. The building stood like a gray fortress, silent and unfeeling, surrounded by electric fences and red clay that turned to sludge with every storm. Inside, the fluorescent lights buzzed, cold and impersonal, illuminating steel doors and blank stares. A boy named Malik sat on the edge of his cot in Unit C4. 16 years old, lean but wiry, eyes far older than his age. He wasn't the biggest kid in there, but no one messed with him. There was something coiled inside him, anger, grief, maybe both. On the wall above his bed was a single photo, torn and fading. Malik at age 9, standing next to a towering man with a grin like sunlight. Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. It had been 7 years since that photo was taken. 7 years since a chance meeting at a community outreach event where Dwayne spoke to kids about choosing a better path. Malik had asked a question that day, a big one that mattered. How do you forgive someone who never said sorry? Dwayne's answer had been interrupted. A call from the studio, an urgent meeting, a polite, "I'll be right back." But he never came back. Not to that room, not to Malik. And in the years that followed, Malik's life unraveled. His mother lost her job. His stepfather's fists got harder. The streets got meaner. Malik made choices, some desperate, some deliberate. Eventually, he landed in the place he'd sworn he'd never end up. Behind bars, with only that torn photo and a question that still haunted him. Meanwhile, Dwayne Johnson's life had only grown larger. Blockbuster movies, business ventures, millions of fans. But something about that day, about that kid, never quite left him. The question echoed sometimes, especially when he looked in the mirror during those early, quiet hours before the world woke up. Then one morning, a letter arrived at his production company. Handwritten. No return address, just 6 words. "You said you'd be right back." Dwayne froze. He read the letter again and again. No signature, no details, just that voice. Clear, young, and hurt. A memory he couldn't shake. That photo surfaced in his mind. The kid, the question, the unfinished conversation. That night, Dwayne canceled a press event, told his team to hold all meetings, booked a private flight to Georgia. Not for a role, not for publicity, but because this time he was coming back. The facility's waiting room was quiet, stripped of all comfort. No magazines, no music, just a guard stationed by the door and a ticking clock mounted high on the wall. Dwayne Johnson sat in one of the plastic chairs, shoulders hunched slightly forward, not from weariness, but from thought. He wasn't here as The Rock today. No $1 million smile, no entourage, no designer leather jacket. Just Dwayne. Jeans, a plain gray hoodie, and eyes full of something deeper than guilt. A need to set things right. Across the room, the warden reviewed visitor logs with a confused frown. "You don't have any relatives here, Mr. Johnson?" "No." "Press?" "No." "Then may I ask why?" Dwayne hesitated. "I made a promise I never kept." Down the long hallway lined with reinforced doors and dull institutional lighting, Malik was pulled from his cell without warning. He had no idea what was happening, only that guards were unusually tense and tight-lipped. He thought maybe it was another court hearing, maybe a transfer. But when he was led into the visiting area, his breath caught. There he was. The man from the photo, the man who left, the man who never came back. Dwayne stood slowly, unsure if he should smile, speak, apologize, or just sit back down. Malik didn't sit, he didn't speak. He just stared, stunned and guarded. "You probably hate me," Dwayne finally said, voice low and hoarse. Malik raised his chin. "I did, for a while." Silence stretched between them. "I remembered your question," Dwayne continued, "about forgiveness. I never stopped thinking about it." "And?" Malik asked, arms crossed. "Got an answer now?" Dwayne leaned forward. "No, not a perfect one, but I think forgiveness isn't something you give someone because they deserve it. You give it because you deserve peace." Malik didn't blink. "What if peace is the one thing the world never gave you?" Dwayne swallowed hard. "Then maybe you build it yourself, one brick at a time." For a moment, Malik's hardened shell cracked. Not broken, just strained. His fingers twitched in his lap. His foot tapped. "I was just a kid," Malik finally muttered. "I thought you actually cared." "I did," Dwayne said. "I do. I just didn't follow through. I got called away. I thought there'd be another chance." Malik looked him dead in the eye. "There wasn't." Dwayne nodded. "But there is now." They sat there, 2 lives on opposite ends of fame and failure, tied together by a conversation that had never finished. The walls between them weren't just made of concrete and steel. They were made of time, silence, resentment. But they were crumbling, slowly but surely. By the end of the hour, Malik wasn't smiling. He wasn't warm, but he stayed. He asked questions. He listened. And when the guard came to end the visit, he said the one thing neither of them expected to hear. "You coming back next week?" Dwayne didn't hesitate. "Yeah, this time I'll be there." The weeks turned into months. Each Saturday morning, like clockwork, Dwayne Johnson returned to the youth detention center, sometimes in worn jeans, sometimes in workout clothes, always alone, no cameras, no press, just him and Malik across a metal table talking. At first, the conversations were guarded. Malik didn't offer much, but Dwayne didn't push. He listened. He showed up. He kept his promise. Bit by bit, Malik opened up. He spoke about his mother, addicted and gone, about his older brother, doing 15 years upstate, about the night he got caught with a gun that wasn't his, in a fight he never started, for a reputation he never wanted. He spoke about pain like someone describing weather, constant, predictable, inescapable. And Dwayne, he didn't pretend to have all the answers, but he gave Malik something else: presence, consistency, belief. One day, months in, Dwayne brought him a book, his own memoir signed inside with just 5 words: "You write your own ending." That day, Malik didn't say much. He just stared at the inscription. Later, back in his cell, he read it from cover to cover. By the end of the year, Malik had started writing journals, poems, letters he never sent. The guards noticed. The counselors noticed. Something in him had changed. During a group session, Malik volunteered to speak, something he had never done before. He stood up, holding a small, folded piece of paper in his shaking hands. He looked at the faces around him, some broken, some hostile, some scared. And then, softly but firmly, he read aloud, "Someone once asked me if I believed in forgiveness. I didn't, not then. But I've met someone who showed me that even when the world walks out, someone can walk back in. And if they do it right, if they mean it, it can make a kid believe in beginnings again." There was silence in the room, then applause. Not thunderous, not loud, but real. The story made its way through the center, then outside its walls. Quietly, anonymously, no headlines. But one counselor called it the first real shift they'd seen in years. Months later, Malik stood in front of a judge. He wasn't asking for leniency. He was asking for another chance at school, at community service, at rebuilding something that had never been whole. And the judge, moved by his transformation, nodded slowly and said, "Let's start again." 1 year later, a community center opened in the very neighborhood Malik had once called hopeless. Its name, Second Talk, a reference only he and Dwayne understood. Inside, young boys gathered to write, speak, share. Not all of them stayed out of trouble, but some did, more than before. And that was something. And on a quiet Sunday afternoon, as a group of kids laughed around him, Malik picked up a marker and wrote on the whiteboard, "You write your own ending." He looked out the window. Dwayne Johnson was standing outside, arms folded, nodding with quiet pride. Not as a hero, not as a celebrity, just as the man who came back and finally stayed. If this story moved you, don't forget to like and share it with someone who believes in second chances. Leave a comment below. Do you think one conversation can change a life? Subscribe for more real, powerful stories that remind us of the quiet heroes around us.